Hey everybody, it's Brandon with RPG Overviews. I have got another game to show you today. It's called Uncharted Seas, Adventures in the Age of Discovery. This is by the Red Room. I'm going to take it over here to the green table, and we're going to go all through it like I normally do. I'm going to show you some stuff I think is really cool about it, stuff that really surprised me in a good way, some stuff I wish was a little bit different to make it a better product, but overall I think this is a positive product from the Red Room, and it gets away from the wretched verse stuff, which I think is needed at some point. Try to branch out and do something a little bit different. So let's go take a look at it over on the green table. So here we go. Uncharted Seas, Adventures in the Age of Discovery. Here is the big book. It's about 424 pages, I think, give or take. A little bit of nudity up here. Overall, I think the cover is good. It definitely lets you know pretty much what you're going to be dealing with. The Age of Discovery, boats, historical game, and yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at it. So, my first impressions were that, of course, it is in the same kind of look as like Lion and Dragon. Obviously, this could be very much a companion piece to that game. It has this nice border here that reminds me of the Silk Road, also by the RPG Pundit. It does the same thing, of course, throughout the whole book, and it's fine. It kind of, I'm not say monotonous, but you know each page what it's going to look like. So it's obviously, I mean, it's fine. I like that. It's cool. It kind of has two columns, obviously, as you can see, and then we've got this nice design around the outside, this kind of tannish color, parchment color background. So the Red Room, or who made this, I've done several videos on their stuff. They are no longer on DriveThruRPG. You can get this book on Lulu, and I'll link, of course, to down in the description if you want to pick it up. I do like this piece of art here. I like historical games. This font is fine. I got kind of used to it as I was reading the book when I saw it. Right away, it kind of just, I don't know, it's not that it's too busy, and it looks fine here. It's just once you get a lot of it in one spot, it kind of seems a little much. But yeah, so it says, it talks here about, this is going to be the Age of Discovery, 15th century and 16th century. And it's going to have their kind of rule set, which is, they say it's kind of like the OSR, and it is. It's not. It says it's not strictly OSR, but there's similarities. So it's not going to be anything, that you don't understand. So and it does have some really neat sections in it. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you this. This is a ton of work. I know that the Red Room is, they do this pretty much full time, but this is a lot of words, and this is a lot of book. It's not that it's a very complicated game whatsoever, but there is some sections in here that are extremely neat. It's really cool that they made them. They're almost, I would almost say that they're kind of like a mini game. I think they're probably some of the strongest things in this book that you could use and have fun doing. And I'm gonna, of course, go through that. I'm gonna be jumping around to a lot of sections. There's just so much to try to get in this, and of course I'll be spoiling stuff that's in there. But there's nothing really to spoil. There's no real adventure or anything like that. So we're gonna be showing, I'll be showing you the whole thing here. So, there's a lot about history. Obviously, this is a historical game. It's going to break down a lot of stuff, and overall is written quite well. They're from Portugal, and their English is good. It doesn't. I never really ran into any type of issues with that. It is not part of their wretched verse, which I applaud them for that. I think the wretched verse is, that's definitely their thing, and they've done a lot of stuff with that. But it's nice to see, breaking out of kind of that normal structure that they've been doing and trying to do something a little bit different. They probably have other games I'm not aware of, maybe, that don't follow that whole wretched verse, system and settings, and so it's nice to see this. And yes, this is a companion piece for any other type of historical type game that you could use with it, and you can use it by yourself. So there is a lot of historical stuff here to read, to get into. I mean, they've definitely done their homework when it comes to a lot of things in this book, and breaking down the Dutch, the Spanish, the Portuguese, a whole bunch of stuff right off the bat. So you're going to get a big history dump, which is understandable. Now, here's something that's really neat that I enjoy about it. I'm going to really be pointing out the stuff I like. So these stories from history, the Golden King and El Dorado, is neat. So like the Legend of El Dorado, they have these little sections here that I really like. They help spur on like actual historical adventures, if you wish, or things that happened in the past that you could kind of look towards and relate to in history, and so maybe some of the same stuff you will be doing when you play this game. So it does talk about some of the mythical horizons. It says here, divine interventions. There is mythical beings and monsters. You don't have to play with that if you want to do it just straight up, how you normally do. But to weave those in together is a pretty neat thing. Here's some great literary and mythological sources here, from Homer's Odyssey to Omens and Signs, Sailors' Tales. Really cool things to help you get more from this game. And then there's a whole section here on realism and modern sensibilities. If you know the Red Room, you know what they're about, and they really break it down in a respectable way, all the stuff of that time, and how it relates to modern sensibilities. There's nothing here that is edgy or pushing the envelope or trying to be, whatever. It's a good section breaking down slavery, colonization, the noble savage. It breaks down all this stuff. And I think it's the role of women obviously plays a part in history, and they're gonna tell you about what they, how that relates to this game. And again, I think they're fine sections, and it's good that they're in there. Character creation here. I will say that they've used AI throughout a lot of their books. This one, of course, has got a lot of historical stuff, so it doesn't really need that. I think there is some AI generation on this. There's a little bit here and there, but it's not overt like some of their other games that I've looked at. So that does have that going for you. You've got a lot of historical pieces that you can grab. So our normal kind of attributes, I like the fact that they break down what these are. Like 9 to 12 is a typical, as an average human. So it's going to break down each of the stats, and their strength, intelligence, wits, agility, toughness, and charisma. So it's going to tell you if you've got 18, you are the top tier human, peak of human ability, and on all those levels. So I always like that when it kind of breaks it down. Going to tell you about how to roll them up. Pretty normal stuff there. You're going to get some modifiers. It's definitely a heavy modifier type game. You're going to get skill points. You're going to play a big part in your character creation. Archetypes, you're going to have your primary attribute. You're going to have some skills based off your archetype. And then you're going to have free perk, a unique perk for the archetype, and then changing those as well. So you've got a life path here, which is cool. You can have like a general origin life path, and you're going to also decide if you want to do, maybe you're from Portugal, and so you're going to roll up here maybe your peasantry or commoners or the gentry, and so you're going to get a bonus, to your, like the gentry gets +1 charisma, and then you'll roll this up, and maybe you're going to get something else like +1 influence. You're a diplomat or a plantation owner, you get +1 trade. So I think that's cool. I like that. You can kind of really zone in on where your character comes from: Spain, Dutch Republic, France, England. It seems to me like when I see these big sections like this, it seems like all this could possibly just be tighter, so it doesn't take up as much pages. But it is how it is. You can see it's quite easy. It's not in their smaller size like their other books, but it's just it's something that I think they could have done a little bit smaller in page count, but it's fine. Life path events are cool. It does definitely a lot of stuff when you get your character out of here. You're gonna have a lot of skills. You're gonna have where you're from. You're gonna get bonuses for that. These life path events, you can roll up a d20, and maybe you survived a deadly tropical disease. It's gonna give you a bonus to this, or maybe a drawback. It does use kind of like a perk and a drawback system, and some people think that drawbacks or disadvantages or something like that are kind of an older way of kind of making characters, and it's not so much of a modern design. I still don't mind it. I enjoy that. It helps you role play something negative with your character. But I have read and heard that some people believe that that's kind of an old throwback to like the 90s and stuff, but I think it's fine here. And then you can go into all the other different archetypes, the alchemist, the apothecary, the army officer. And so you'll get a certain amount of skill points. You've got a primary attribute. This is your skill set. You get a choice of free perks, and then you get a unique perk for that army officer if you're playing them. And you get gear. So I like that. You're definitely going to have unique characters, unless of course you're playing the exact same type. If you're playing, two people are playing army officers, then yeah, you're going to be trained the same. You're going to have that unique feat, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of those. Conquistador, cartographer, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat here, you need to get, and from what I could tell in this book, navigation right here, like explore, navigation is just an absolute dynamite skill, and it should be. This is the age of discovery, and that's what it's all about, is going out and discovering things. So herbalist, master blacksmith, a lot of different ones to choose from here. So that's good. I mean, a lot of people, I myself, at times, I like a lot of different types of characters that you could possibly be. And they're not going to drastically change you up, but you're going to give you skills and a unique feat and so on and so forth. But here's your skills. And, it's going to be a D20. This is going to be a difficulty number, target number you're trying to get. Very easy to do. Sometimes you don't have to roll for stuff. You're going to have like skill levels explained. And this is, again, another smart thing. Fairly basic here, cooperation or opposed rolls. So like animal handling. If you're a novice, this is what it allows you to do. Like animal handling, novice, you get a +1, can handle and train common domestic animals for basic tasks, calm a frightened horse or dog. And then apprentice, you're going to train animals for... I like that. I like that they break each one down. There is a lot of skills, as you can see, but I like how they break it down into master. And, of course, you can do all these other things as well, and you get the +5 bonus. You can also specialize, and that's going to give you a +1 to that particular thing, such as falconry or animal husbandry. So I like that. I like, again, much the way that I like the attributes, breaking down these different... for each skill, novice, apprentice, journeyman, expert, master. That's smart. So I like that. Medicines can be very important too, that somebody has that. Melee combat. The occult is cool. And there it is, navigation. Navigation is going to play a big part, I think, in this game. Ranged combat, seamanship. And I'm going to try to go through this so much. Then we've got a section here on all the perks you can get. So these are obviously going to give you some bonuses. We all know these. They're kind of like feats. Iron Will, Lucky, Lightning Reflexes. We've seen these in a lot of games. And, of course, you want it here. Merchant Prince is cool. Natural Athlete, Sea Legs is going to be very helpful, especially if you really focus your adventures on a boat, on a ship. And then you're going to have your drawbacks. Could be hysteria, impaired senses, maybe you're poor or reckless. And then it has this paths of sin and virtue. It's an alternative to traditional alignment systems. You're going to get certain scores, negative and positive, based off actions that you do. Earning sin points or virtue points. Maybe acts of mercy or self-sacrifice could give you, bonus ones. And then, we've seen this kind of in some other games as well. I know that Weird Frontiers kind of has something like this as well too. So then we have acquisition rules. So you're going to roll, and it's going to be affected by your origin, when you need to get something, when you need to acquire something. So it doesn't have like a strict, this is how much money you have. So it's going to help between the different times, so you don't have to look up exactly how much was this during the 1500s, how much was it during the 1600s. And one thing I really like is that it just doesn't say, hey, look, here's an hourglass. It's going to give you a bonus on certain things. I think that's a good thing. That's smart. I like that a lot. It's not just an item you can just write on your sheet and it doesn't really do anything. These all give you bonuses either to navigation rolls, seamanship rolls, whole bunch of stuff, perception rolls, and I like that. And then you've got your armor, defense. It's pretty much going to be what your armor class is in essence, getting away from that OGL. And you have your acquisition roll. It's a target number you need to make, and that way you can get different gear. Now, here's one thing. It's got range, and it's got MZ and RAZ. Now, at first, I had no clue what that is, and that's like melee zone and ranged. I think it's like ranged attack zone or ranged actions. Not exactly sure. I can't remember. But that's just to me, it was just a little bit confusing, but now I understand it. It could have just been an M and an R for ranged and an M for melee, but that's fine. Just to let you know, if you're looking at it too, like me, and like, what does that mean? You got your gear table here, some smaller things that really don't do a whole bunch that, you understand what they do, but they don't give you bonuses. A diving bell, a crowbar, a lantern. It's got a ton of stuff in here. Here's all your weapons. You can see here, MZ, RAZ. Again, I thought it was a little bit confusing. Now we've got a section here on experience, character progression, buying more skill points. It's not a huge section here if I'm not mistaken. Then you go into combat. So, this is okay. See, right, it's ranged attack zone. That's what it means. An out of range zone. You're gonna have some, three different zones. and you're going to have fairly normal stuff here. Roll your skill roll plus attribute. You're trying to beat the defense roll. There is a lot of attack modifiers here, not too bad, but everything here is pretty standard. You can use exploding damage dice if you wish as an optional rule. I like that. There is one thing I do like here is this hit location thing that you can do. If you want to make your game a little bit more crunchy, you can have critical hits in random spots. You can target areas, and it's got your blunt, your blade, your firearm, torso shot, or a gut shot, and what that does to you. Or you could actually target those areas. It's going to have a negative to your roll, but I do like that. Like, what if I want to shoot a guy in the gut? What's that going to do? And so that's good. So like here's critical hits from called shots. So it's not exactly the same as these random ones, but like here you can get a concussion if you're hitting the head. So you could actually do those called shots. And I think that's a bonus thing. I like that. It's a good rule there. Here's more of that stories from history, more things, and you can look those up and say, hey, those are real things, and that's interesting. And then we're gonna start breaking into some of the different stuff like boarding actions. Your crew resolve is a big thing. You're going to have a lot of stuff like this going forward in this book, where you're going to do like kind of step by step how to do things, like how to board another ship, how to do sword duels. It's I like it. I mean, it's good. They're almost kind of like little mini games, and that might be something that some people might not care for. But I mean, if you want to do everything, there's so many things involved in these actions. Then yeah, you're going to need step by step things. Here's sea battles, weather, wind, sea conditions, and then different ship maneuvers, emergency repairs. I do like stuff like this, like being able to heal your ship in essence, in the middle of battle. Doing full sail, doing fire barrels. They made the game so that if you like ships, the Age of Discovery, all the things like that, here's everything you need to try to do all that stuff. It's not like this is not a hand-waving type of game. They really try to put in a lot of stuff for you. Critical hits, cannon fire, a collision. Here's all your stats for ships. So like a sloop, you've got your crew, passengers, the defense, the health dice, the speed, maneuverability, and then what weapons and how much cargo it can hold. And then we've got a section here on damage and healing. This is also a very good section. It talks about infections. That probably killed more than in most people back then, especially during these, going on these explorations. Infection severity and progression, treatment and recovery. So, having a character that's got the medicine skill is going to be just, super, super useful. Target numbers for healing the wounded, naturally healing, amputation, that was a big deal too. Long-term effects. I mean, this is a thorough game. I'm going to give them big kudos for this. I mean, this is a very thorough game. Diseases, examples of diseases, cholera, dysentery, poisons. They really didn't leave anything out. Alcohol and drugs, hunger and thirst, you got to have those rules. Here's fear and madness stuff. You can definitely use that should you throw in a lot of the kind of monsters and stuff like that in there. Dealing with madness, managing and recovering from madness. I always like that. It's like if you're going to have some sort of system in there to make me go crazy, is there some way to fix me? There should be. And then we can get to a really neat section here called superstition. Talks all about it, and then old world superstitions, and it tells you about different superstitions and how, if that happens to you, if you want to use those in your game, how that affects your character. Like right here, this gives you a -2 to navigation and seamanship checks for 1d4 hours. Whistling on a ship brings bad winds, and it tells you a little bit about the history of that, or what people believed, or maybe where that superstition came from. Very cool section. Like that's one of the sections where I was surprised when I started reading this. I was like, wow, that's really neat. And those people back then, they probably had a bunch of superstitions, and sure enough, and it breaks down a whole bunch of other ones too. Africa, Polynesia, Southeast Asia. Very neat. Good stuff. Then we've got miracles. If you want to add this to your game, as I see a lot of these things as kind of optional things. If you have a priest, a Catholic priest or something, some sort of religious character, you can try to do miracles. There's some modifiers, target numbers you're trying to get, a blessing, healing, protection. They're all kind of broken down, and they have different target numbers. There's multiple things in, like exorcism or a miracle of nature, call for rain, call storm, bountiful catch. It tells you the duration of it too, and it's a good section again, and it's one again that you can play, you can play optionally. We've got a divine thing here for like failed miracles and divine disfavor should you fail your role, and what that kind of means to your character, what's going to happen to them. See if I can actually turn the page. So saints, angels, and other religious figures. That's cool. Listen to a whole bunch of those. Maybe someone that you can kind of your religious character can kind of focus on to help you. Then there's angelic intervention. That's going to be very difficult for you to pull off. Relics and holy objects. That's a neat thing. And then you got a whole section on alchemy here. So again, reminds me of a lot of like Lion and Dragon, trying to bring it to like historical ways to do like magic or feats of wonderment. And this is a strong section again. I think this is where the book really just starts running. It starts going full speed, giving you some really neat sections. And if this is not your type of game, these sections here I think are very useful if you want to use them in other games. Alchemy in the natural world, the workshop, that different items you need, the process to do it when it comes to target numbers, your time constraints, like how long it takes you to do like a simple potion. Preparation for different alchemical things there. If you want to, how long it takes to prepare them, what's the effect of them, and what ingredient it is. So a lot of things here for you to try to make, all the way up to the great works of alchemy, including the Philosopher's Stone. I think that's cool. And then random alchemical preparation generator. That's neat. You can roll this up, and maybe it's an animal extract. It's green. It's a powder, and it's an energy boost to you. And then it talks about the potency. Maybe it's not so strong, or maybe it's really potent. So I think that's cool. Duration, side effect, the taste, and the method of use. And then here we go. Here, this is the section. This is the section that really just kind of blew me away. I was like, holy crap! Planning expeditions. This is an incredible section. If I was to say, okay, what is the coolest thing to pull out of Uncharted Seas? It's this right here, planning expeditions. It's going to break down everything. Define your expedition goals. You're researching planning. You're creating an expedition proposal. And then you have to secure sponsorship. These are different steps here. Again, this is that kind of mini game you're going to play. And I think some players are going to really gravitate towards this. This is a section they can really, bite into and enjoy. So identify potential sponsors. Maybe it's the monarchy. Maybe it's the religious order. Maybe it's a colonial trading company. That's cool. Arrange a meeting. Pitch the meeting. Pitch the expedition. Recruiting your crew. Finding out what your crew needs are. Recruiting key positions. Gathering supplies. I'm going to kind of like break this down quick here because, gathering provisions, acquire specialized equipment, and there's maybe some random events that might happen. A competing group is planning a similar voyage. All subsequent influence rolls have a -1 penalty. Very neat. Here's the Lost Colony of Roanoke right there. Expanded planning mechanics. If you want to go more than that, it's going to really break it down, and show you some stuff here. Find a maritime route to India. It's going to kind of break those down. What's the goal? What's the secondary objectives? Very neat section. So it's each one of those things broken down. Well, that was kind of like the quick thing, and this is really the breaking down of all those things, such as securing your sponsorship or the goals, arranging the meeting. Very neat. I was really impressed by this section. And again, like I said in the beginning of this, talking about this section here, this is the strongest thing this book's got going for him. A lot of work and effort went into thinking about all this stuff, because I don't know if I would have thought about it. Preparing trade goods, your final inventory. A lot of knowledge rolls are going to be made here. Acquisition rolls are going to be made in this. So yeah, you're going to need a lot of those key skills. And then on the flip side of that, you need to trade in the Age of Discovery. And it's got simplified trade here. So expedition planning, acquiring goods is going to have define the trade route, secure funding, all that stuff we talked about, navigating which way you're going to go, managing your crew. And then here, port interactions, enter the port and clear customs, assess local market, negotiate trade. It almost reminds me kind of like Traveler, but like in the Age of Discovery with ships and exploring places. And that's the immediate thing I felt when I read this section. And then expanded trade mechanics, breaking these all down again, telling you about historical trade routes like the Silk Road. And so breaking these down one by one. And, like I said, some people may not go for this, but I think the groups that really like this type of stuff are going to really enjoy this section. Storage and preservation, valuation and documentation, and nothing got left out, it seems, from this. And then the voyage, what's going to happen on your there, planning it, weather and sea conditions, maybe some encounters, maybe you find a merchant ship, maybe there's a pirate ship, and like here, sea monster sighting, might not be an actual sea monster, but you could always say, hey, we might not need to go that way. Ship and crew management, cargo management, port interactions, customs and taxes. This may be too much for people, and you could just cut out sections of that you don't want to do. If you don't want to deal with taxes and stuff like that, just don't cut them out. Just don't use them. Just cut them out. Long-term wealth accumulation, the market impact, reputation adjustment. Whoa, boy. Trade posts and colonies. Here's another thing. Selecting a location, negotiating the rights. This has got everything you need. I could go on a bunch about these sections here. Venturing, trade, and progression. So what this does is it allows you to actually improve your character through your exploration, not just from fighting some monster or some other dude and taking his stuff, or killing him and taking his stuff, like actual advancement through your expeditions. And I think, again, a smart section. What do you get when you establish trade routes, or trade networks, or wealth and assets, or titles and positions? How does that affect your character? Then we've got a selection here of adversaries, and this is going to be a lot of animals here in the beginning. There's no description of them because it's fairly self-explanatory. If you're reading something that's a history game, you probably know what a boar or a camel is. Been cool to have a little bit of art in this area here, but it's okay. Human adversaries, you're going to have slaves and Aztec warriors, conquistadors and diplomats, explorers and merchants, so everything you need here with their relative skills. So that's very helpful. And then you got a large section here on supernatural beings. And I'm not going to break all these down here. I'm just going to kind of flip through really cool sections here and some really neat monsters that you can use or not use, in your game, and or maybe have some legends and stuff of them. Maybe they're something you can occasionally throw at them if that's what your game wants to have. And so it's good that that's in here. But look at all this, a bunch, and we still have those stories from history. There is a lot, and there's some of their stats go up really high, like 55, and the stat table goes up that high. It shows tells you what that bonus is going to be. Some of these ones I've actually heard of before, and they're from all over different countries and different areas. These different monsters. You've got infernal spirits here. Infernal spirits, that are quite strong. You've got a lot of them. Maybe you can have something going on, and you definitely don't want to go up against these guys. I don't know who would throw them at you with a strength of 80. Good luck. You're going to get crushed into pulp. And then here's expeditions. And this whole section here is going to be a lot of they're almost kind of like adventures, but they're things that you can get involved in, that you can actually run and say, this is what I'm going to focus, my players, what they're going to be doing. And so it's just a neat section of different expeditions, what happened with them, and major events, NPCs, and it's a way for you to kind of redo these with your characters. So they're neat. It's a good section, and it's big, as you can see, a lot of them, and more of those stories from history. Again, those are all great. The Golden Fleece, that's really cool. Of course, I love that. Jason and the Argonauts is right up my alley. Land of the Dead. So this is a very, very thorough book and doing exactly what it's trying to do. Now, my only thing would be, it just seems, I like this decoration. I think it's fine. It kind of keeps on doing it, so it kind of loses its kind of energy. And there's so much in here that you can't kind of just do art everywhere. Or this book would be even bigger, more than 400 pages. Here's a bunch of gods, Greek and Roman names for them, historical plot hooks. My thing is it's just, it seems like it just needs to be a little bit more polished once again. I think they're getting there. The Red Room is getting there. You guys are getting there. But it kind of is slightly monotonous in its look, as you can see. And I'm not sure exactly, is there tables? Is there just a different layout that's needed? And these are all just, what you can bring creatively to laying out your book. But the thing is, for a lot of people, they're going to want this game if they're excited about historical stuff. And they're not. That's not going to really matter to them. Lots of times, you've just got to get this information to them. It does look fine. I don't think it's a bad looking book whatsoever. I think it's a little bit one note in its design. A lot of cool random tables here. Different trades you can go on, different trade routes, shipping encounters, different areas, Mediterranean or Caribbean, cargoes, bunch of those. So this whole rest of this book, sea monsters and beasts, sea and ocean events, port town events, a lot of random tables here that you're going to really enjoy should you really delve into this game. Encounters with natives, bunch of stuff written there. Maybe someone's taken captive, stuff that's probably happened in history, more ways to kill your player characters, cannibalism, diseases, dysentery, hunger, a whole bunch of stuff like that. And then appendix here, factions in the Age of Discovery, breaking down each one of them a little bit more and how they deal with one another. That's a cool section there. And then telling you all the history here, chronology here that goes on and tells you about late 16th century. And has a lot of the major events that happen, big major figures in the era. Of course, a lot of these are going to be Portuguese, as the Red Room are from Portugal, so a lot of them are focused. But Portuguese did a lot of stuff too, so it's not like that's the only focus. We've got Spanish, we've got Dutch, we've got Italian. So a lot of people here you can throw into the game or have the characters interact with them in some way. Here's a bunch of names here you can pick for your characters. That's always helpful because, as we know, sometimes naming your character can be the hardest part of making a character. So we've got different ones for the different area, different like Italian or Spanish. So that's always very helpful. Cool map here on the back. I'm not sure how useful it is, but it definitely is part of the cool theme of the way that the book looks. And then the character sheet. And if there was any real criticism I have for the Red Room, it's just I wish that their character sheets were just a little bit better. This gets really, really kind of, again, it's what I was talking about with that font, kind of bogged down. This thing here just doesn't, this doesn't correlate to how well all this other stuff is. And it's like a 4-page character sheet with just big blocks. I just wish that their character sheets were a little bit better. That would probably be one of my stronger complaints about Red Room stuff. And then it has kind of the back here again written here. So Uncharted Seas, that's it right there. I think it's really cool. I think it's very cool for people who really want to delve into this. It's not going to be for everyone. This is not going to be a book that a lot of people are going to be like, you know what, I don't know if I'll ever play, boats and ships and Age of Discovery and exploration and, exploring new areas, new lands and people. But if you are about it, this thing's definitely got a lot of stuff that you are going to enjoy. Again, it's a niche of a niche of a niche. You know how it is with some of these games. This is a niche that if you enjoy this, you've got the meat and you've got, a lot of those kind of mini games almost, I'd say, that preparation for your expedition. That is just very impressive that they thought about that. And, you've got something now that allows you to do that. And it doesn't miss anything. It's going to hit all those things when it comes to sea battles, your expeditions, trying to get sponsoring for them, and what's going to happen on the way there and when you get there, and then creating trade routes. Very impressive stuff. So overall, I'm very pleased with this book. I'm glad that the Red Room is kind of branching out from the Wretched Verse. And for historical fans of role-playing games, this one is very cool. And again, if you're not going to use it exactly as it is, as you can see, I think there's a lot of stuff in here you can take and use in other games. Your fantasy games, a whole bunch of different other type of games. If you're just getting on a boat and trying to go someplace and explore, you need the money, what's going to happen when you get there, you can use this book for, different purposes. That's for dang sure. So great. Really, really pleased with it. And, thanks everybody for watching this video. And, I hope to have, some more new ones soon. I kind of took a break for a while and now I'm back. And I hope to just hammer you with a bunch of cool new books. And, I appreciate everybody that subscribed recently and who stays a subscriber. I really appreciate that a lot. I'm closing in on 2,000 subscribers. I'd love to be able to get there by the end of the year, but we'll see how it goes. I know it's going to happen. So please, do whatever you want. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Let me know you're there. See what you think about this book. If this is something that you might use, I'd love to know about it. And yeah, thanks a lot.